What's going on, everybody? It is that time again. Sooners Illustrated game preview time. Week 8, Game 7. Oklahoma, South Carolina, Saturday morning at the stadium, 11:45 p.m. or a.m. p.m. a.m. Central Time kickoff. It's been all afternoon games this year. I've been able to say p.m. First morning kick of the year on the SEC Network. Kind of weird first ever matchup between Oklahoma and South Carolina. So kind of a fun little new conference realignment type of matchup here. The Gamecocks come in at 3-3, coached by Shane Beamer. Of course, was Oklahoma's assistant under Lincoln Riley for a few years, left to take over at the Gamecocks. Oklahoma 4-2. Both teams are unranked. It's a major fork in the road moment for Oklahoma, right? Gut check moment right here. You win this game, you feel like you can get your season back on the tracks a little bit. Whereas if you lose it, you're looking at it saying this could snowball in a really bad way. So this is a big game, obviously, guys. They're all big at this point, but this game, it's just one of those you got to have. It kind of feels like one of the bigger games in the Brent Venables tenure, quite frankly. This is a huge moment. Oklahoma needs this game on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, you lose this game and then bowl eligibility becomes a big question over the second half of the season. Doesn't get any easier. You kind of have to, like you said, you need to win this game. You still have four games against top 25 ranked opponents on your schedule. 3 of those on the road at Ole Miss, at Mizzou, and at LSU at the end of the season. So you got to get them where you can. And especially coming after a tough loss like the one against Texas last weekend, you need to respond. You need to pick yourself off the mat and counterpunch.
I mean, yeah, it's that point and simple because there's just you got to have something to root for at this point in time if you're an OU fan. Like, what is the saving grace for you right now? Really, I think it's that you may get some guys back from injury. So if you win this game, I mean, some of the guys are kind of projected to be later on in this schedule that they'll come back. And you could still have a really good chance of having a really good season if those guys come back. You would think that would be the case. So obviously, losing here would kind of put a damper on all of that. At that point in time, and also it's homecoming. I mean, you never want to lose on homecoming. I know it's different, like high schools, maybe it's a little bit different, but everybody's back to watch. The alumni's there. Don't embarrass the program. That's pretty much what usually happens in homecoming games. So it also puts some more pressure on it. Don't embarrass the program here and do a really good job on the field. So I think that's the big case for it.
Yeah, it feels like it's been like a month straight that we've been saying you might get some guys back from injury. I think at this point, at some point, the guys who are available just need to execute and step up and make plays. Like you can't count on these injured guys to be able to come back,
for sure,
whenever it is, and be what we thought they might be before the season. You need some of these younger guys that have now played 5-6 games to really answer the call.
For sure. No, I mean, for sure. I mean, the usual suspects are all out again. Had first availability report on Wednesday night. Everybody you expect to be out is out. Deion Burks is the big one. He's questionable again. So we're in the exact same spot we were when we did this last week. Obviously ended up being ruled out on Thursday night before the Texas game. We'll see what happens this time. He posted, if you want to do that kind of thing, on his Instagram story, a photo of him in uniform. I saw some fans saying, is that something? Is that nothing? So they really need him, obviously. We've been talking about that for weeks now, but everyone else, kind of the usual suspects you expect, are still out. So Oklahoma's, like Tom said, this kind of just is the team, frankly, and they kind of have to figure it out. So all that being said, Oklahoma, South Carolina. Let's go ahead and get into our keys to the game here. Tom, you can start it off for us. Oklahoma, they got to play better in a lot of areas after Texas. That was their worst performance of the year, both offensively and defensively, just kind of all of it together. What does Oklahoma got to do this weekend to find a way to get back in the win column against the Gamecocks?
Besides tackle,
big one.
I think you need to make Lenora Sellers try to win that game for South Carolina. ESPN's, who was it, Bill Connolly, I think it was, put out, total QBR in SEC play this season. And again, a small sample size. Teams have only played 3 or 4 games so far. But Lenora Sellers, I think, is 12th or 13th out of the SEC quarterbacks in total QBR. Michael Hawkins Jr. is right below him, and obviously a little bit more limited playing time. But it's not great. Both of them are freshman quarterbacks that haven't been, looking like veterans and stellar players out there. But, South Carolina, they've got 12 turnovers this season, which is tied for 113th fewest nationally. They've got the 7th most turnovers among Power 4 teams. Lenore Sellers has accounted for 7 of those. He's thrown 4 interceptions. He's fumbled the ball 9 times, only lost 3 of them.
Crazy number.
So, ball security has been an issue for him. And remember, he missed a game this season. So that's only in 5 games that he's done that. So if they can, force Lenore Sellers to try to win that game, and this defense can get after them. We've seen that pass rush has been pretty solid this year. We've seen the defense be very opportunistic with getting takeaways. If they can force him into some mistakes and maybe bait him a little bit, that's obviously going to play right into Oklahoma's hands.
No, Tom, you said it first off. Tackling is the key to the game. I feel like in this one, we're not entirely sure what OU's offense is going to come out there and do against this team. So you really got to be able to bank on your defense being good. I mean, they were in position a lot of times against Texas last week, just couldn't make the tackle to stop a drive and things like that. So that's a big thing for me. I think that's the key to the game. Usually when a scrappy team comes in with nothing to lose, it's always like put points on the board, don't give them any hope early so they don't try to come back and win that game. But I don't know what OU offense is going to be out there. I don't know what they're going to look like. So tackling has to be it, because you just don't know what OU is going to do on the offensive side of the ball.
No, 100%. And obviously, South Carolina, good running game with Rocket Sanders. So I agree both those points is going to be important. Defense needs a bounce back. That was a uncharacteristically sloppy and just not very good football we talked about on Monday against Texas. It was, Texas is really good, but they beat themselves in a lot of areas as well. For me, key is going to be staying ahead of the chains. Tom, you had the stat, earlier in the week. Oklahoma is just living in 3rd and long, and the offense is nowhere near good enough to overcome that. I mean, quite frankly, they got to find a way to give themselves some 3rd and manageables if they're going to have any hope of turning this around. And South Carolina, their pass rush, specifically on the edges, is really good. They're a top 10 team in the country in sacks per game right now. Kyle Kennard, senior defensive end, he has 7.5 sacks at this point in the year. That's 4th most in all of college football. And that's not even talking about Dylan Stewart. Obviously, he's the freshman that everyone thinks has got a future 1st round written all over him down the road, right? So finding a way to limit those guys is going to be really, really important, and just not sitting yourself in even 2nd and long, 3rd and long, because the offense just does not have the firepower to overcome that, especially if Deion Burks is out again. Obviously, that's up in the air as of now, but that's going to be huge. Just finding a way to at least get yourself 2nd, 6th, 3rd and 4, those types of spots. Felt like they lived in 3rd and 8 or more all game long against Texas, and that's just, you're never going to overcome that with where this offense is right now. So that's going to be a big key for me. What about players to watch? Obviously, we're not 100% if Burke's going to be back, so that might influence a little bit of this, but some players offensively, defensively, or wherever that you guys think are going to be important for Oklahoma trying to find a way to get back in the win column here.
I mean, I got to take the low-hanging fruit this time, fellas. Like Michael Hawkins Jr. has to be the player to watch in this one, because it was a big thing against Texas. Like, was he making the right decisions? I know we even had a little topic of asking, would you have gone back to Jackson Arnold because of the way that Michael was playing in that game? You got to see, can he bounce back from that? Can he overcome what happened in that game? Because it wasn't his best outing. And I think even Brent Venables talked about it a lot in his presser earlier this week, kind of helping him get through the film and talking him over things. Like, some of these guys are open. You got to, make that pass. Sometimes you got to stay in the pocket a little bit longer. You're leaving the pocket too soon, and that's making it harder on yourself. Some of those type of things. So we'll see what Michael Hawkins does. I think that's a player to watch here. I mean, it's the low-hanging fruit, but man, that's what it's got to be from right now.
For sure, he needs a bounce back, no doubt about that. And the whole quarterback conversation, very interesting right now. I could go a couple different directions. I'm going to go, at the risk of just regurgitating a lot of the same points I just made, I'm going to go with both the tackles. I'm going to kind of keep the two guys, Michael Tarquin and Jake Taylor, against those edges. Come on. I mean, this is big boy time right now, is finding a way to keep those guys from just wreaking havoc, creating those negative plays. All the things I was just saying before on the 3rd and long, a lot that's going to come down to those two guys, barring shuffling on the offensive line. I see Brent Venables told Tom this week, Troy Everett probably going to get more snaps. But assuming those are your guys on the outside, which it's presumed they will be, finding a way to limit those two defensive ends is a must in this game, in my opinion. So both tackles, Tarquin and Taylor, need to have probably their best game of the season. They give Oklahoma a shot to score some points and win this game on Saturday.
Yeah, sorry that there's going to be an echo in here, but that's exactly who I had written down too. And I know this won't be the first time that we kind of parrot each other, but I didn't just say Tarquin and Taylor. I said whoever it is starting at the tackle spots, because they did pull Tarquin fairly early in that Texas game.
Right,
he was getting whipped pretty bad. So whether it's Sexton or Tarquin at left tackle and Taylor at right tackle, whoever it is, they need to answer the call, because as you said, Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart are a very, very talented tandem. Kyle Kennard, obviously a little bit more experienced guy, but Dylan Stewart has incredible ceiling. Those two have combined for 11 sacks, 17 tackles for a loss, and 38 total pressures through the first half of the season. Those are some pretty lofty numbers. We know the issues that Oklahoma's offensive line has had this season, coming off a game where they just gave up 5 sacks and tons of negative plays. Those tackles cannot let those ends dominate their matchup. They need to do something to neutralize them. I don't think you're going to be able to negate them completely, but you cannot let them take over this game. And that's just as simple as it is.
Mm-hmm. Another, I guess, a little interesting note to watch out for is Jacoby Johnson. I mean, he's a guy that played both ways against Texas. So maybe he gets a little bit more volume of that in this game, because we're seeing him more on the offensive side of the ball. So that'll be fun to see if a guy like him can go both ways and see how he produces in that aspect.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I'll throw into, I almost went with, but I didn't want to do it only because I've done JJ Hester, I've done Brennan Thompson, I've done Callaway, but Zion Kearney.
He's going Zion,
He had his best game of his career. Obviously, it's 6 games in against Texas. Had 4 catches on 4 targets, 45 yards. Him and Michael Hawkins seem to have some sort of rapport. I don't know. I mean, all the same things I've been saying all year. Nobody in that receiver room has been able to fill the void of the big guys. Kearney's a true freshman, so it's asking a lot for him to do it, but he's gotten better as the season's gone on. He seems to be getting more and more comfortable. The coaches seem to be trusting him more and more. Whether Deion Burks is back or not, he's going to need a running mate. And, Zion Kearney, maybe that chemistry with Michael Hawkins can continue to develop. I mean, he had a couple nice moments down in Dallas. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I've called out a receiver almost every single week, it seems like, to try and step up. It has never happened. Maybe Zion Kearney. I do think he's a big-time player in the making. It's just a matter of, can a true freshman handle that load, really, more than anything. Yeah,
and just to shout out someone on defense, since we've all pretty much talked offense.
All the attention's on the offense.
Man of the hour, Eli Bowen. Highest graded freshman in college football last week. One of the few bright spots in that debacle down in Dallas. Like Brent Venables said a few weeks ago, I mean, he's like a water moccasin. Like, he attacks the ball and he does not let go. Been a great tackler. I mean, he's going to have another challenge trying to lock things down in the secondary there, and at pass rush and affecting Lenore Sellers. It's not just about the edges and the defensive tackles and the linebackers getting to him in the backfield. You can create coverage sacks too, and the way Eli Bowen's been playing, like, he can create some of those opportunities.
100%. Defense needs to bounce back too. All the attention on the offense, but 100%. All right, I guess we'll go ahead and pick this thing. Colin started it yesterday on the pod. He took Oklahoma 16-13, so 1 pick for the Sooners there. I guess I'll start. I'm going to go Oklahoma as well. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's who knows, right? I mean, we don't know what you're going to get offensively. I do think the defense will have a bounce back performance. I think they've taken that Texas game, and they'll be looking for, I don't know the right word. I get bounce back. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking to trying to right that wrong from things not going too well down there in Dallas. So I think the defense plays really well. Offense is just going to probably be fine. I mean, I'm not expecting,
relatively speaking.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm not expecting a huge breakout by any means. I'm going to go right basically with Colin. I'm going to say 17-13. Low scoring game. I don't think it's going to be one of those games Oklahoma's going to just grind out, kind of similar to the Auburn game. I think it'll be low scoring, take care of the ball. Defense probably makes one huge play. I'm not looking for a pick six again, but a huge play in the second half that kind of proves to end up being the difference. So I'll say Oklahoma in a low-scoring game wins it by 4, and they get back on in the win column.
Yeah, Josh and I are kind of on the same wavelengths
Yeah.
today. I also had 17-13 written down. I expect this to be another low scoring game, pound the under. Oklahoma might cover. We'll see. But 17-13, offense try to score a couple drives off of a short field, get a field goal. Don't know how much this South Carolina offense is going to be able to do against this Oklahoma defense. I do think South Carolina's defense is better than Auburn, so I expect this to be a little bit more scoring than that game. But yeah, kind of a similar storyline there.
I don't think I've ever picked a score this low in terms of Oklahoma Sooners. Like it's crazy how my number keeps dropping each week, but I'm going 14-10 in a really close game, as you guys think. I think the defense may give up one, and then there'll be a bend don't break defense on one of them and give up a field goal. But I think the OU offense can get at least two touchdowns in this one. I mean, you're not playing a top 10 defense here in terms of national records and national rankings and things like that. So maybe they'll help out a lot. OU's at home; those things tend to help out. So we'll see what happens with the offense and things like that.
100%. The fact we all took, low score, the under, which probably means you should take the over. Or like everyone's looking for a game in the teens that'll probably end up being 40-35 or something. But gonna be interesting. Like we said, it's a huge game for Oklahoma, massive. I mean, you can get this season back on the tracks a bit, whereas a loss here and your questions are going to be asked. This is a huge game, and I imagine a very tense crowd on Saturday. I think the tension in the air will be felt early if things look similarly to how they looked down in Dallas. That's it for now. We're all going to be there in Norman tomorrow morning, 11:45 kick, like we said, from the stadium. We'll have full coverage all throughout the day. Of course, Oklahoma247sports.com, and then full post-game reaction afterward, both on the website, on the YouTube channel, with our instant reaction, as well as reaction from Brent Venables, coordinators, players, all the good stuff that you come to know and expect. That's it for now. We'll see you tomorrow from Norman. For Tom Green, James D. Jackson, I'm Josh Callaway. We'll see you guys tomorrow at the stadium, Oklahoma, South Carolina, next tomorrow night here in Norman.